screwed Eric Ten Hag is. If he's got, some of the players he's going to have to use if you look at the rumours, some of the players that Eric Ten Hag's going to have to use next season, he doesn't want to use, but he's going to have to use because the budget's not there. I lost myself a little bit last night, but I stand by what I said. Richard Arnold knew a year ago that this summer was going to be hard. So the Glazers knew a year ago that this summer was going to be hard, and they've walked into it for their own selfish reasons because they're still trying to get a little bit more money out of Radcliffe or a little bit of money out of Qatar, and they've walked into this. You know what it is. Basically, in an analogy, they've walked into an ambush, but they knew it was an ambush. We didn't. Ten Hag didn't. They've walked us into an ambush where we're surrounded and we're going to get absolutely battered. And they've walked us in knowing it was an ambush. And that's our owners. Whatever you think of them, they've walked us into an ambush and it's their fault. They knew this. They knew 12 months ago that we were going to have a bad summer transfer window this year. They could have sold the club before it. They could have done things to try and prevent it being a bad summer transfer window. They've walked us straight into it. And that's the owners of Man United. That's the CEO of Manchester United. They've walked us into it. And you know what? I did lose my temper a little bit last night, but on a calm Sunday morning with a coffee in my hand, I can say that there is visual evidence. He shouldn't have been recorded. It was naughty to do that. But there's anecdotal evidence, and ultimately Richard Arnold was in a pub with United fans a year ago, almost to the day, and he said, we're all right this summer, but next summer we're basically in trouble. And in 12 months, they've done nothing. The CEO, the director of football, the owners, they've walked us into this transfer window willingly, knowing it was going to be a challenge, when they could have sold the club or they could have put something in place. So, you talk about what's possible this summer transfer window. It's very possible that we start the season with Martial, McTominay, Maguire in the first 11, because you just don't know. Weekend Getaway, thank you very much for your super chat. Can you say happy 8th birthday to Leo Hughes, getting a new Leo 8 Man United shirt, says Shane. Thank you very much, Shane, and happy birthday to Leo. Hope you have a good day. And Tommy says, I think you're spot on, best show. And yeah, but you know what? I think I feed. Well, I don't think. I know. And I say this on the live show. It's a privilege to do these shows, but I do read the live chat. I don't read them all out because there's too many, but I do feed off the chat, and it's a very intelligent chat. And it annoys me that, there's people with access to Manchester United because they got a job at a certain outlet. You pick a journalist's name. They're not in the press conference because of them. They're in the press conference because of the organisation that they work for that's had press access for years. So they fall into this trap that they're wonder journalists. And some of them are very, very good, but they're only in there because they work for the outlet that has had access for years. And it makes them complacent. It makes them, because they already know, because they know they're there every week, because they work for whoever, they're complacent, and I think sometimes they are apathetic in relation to, they don't ask the questions that should be asked, and they don't scrutinise the problems that are there. It's only our community that's talking about the fact that Richard Arnold said a year ago this summer transfer window was going to be a challenge, and now it's a challenge. But no one's talking about that. They're listening to the financial fair play thing, which is a nonsense. The financial fair play thing is irrelevant. It's not true. Man United are not spending money because of financial fair play. Man United are not spending money because we're run by complete and utter cretins who don't know what they're doing. But I've heard who apart from us, and it started last night, have been saying, well, we knew this transfer window was going to be like this because Richard Arnold told us. The CEO of the club a year ago said this summer transfer window was going to be a challenge. They knew a year ago, and they've walked us into it. Mark, I know you say you like an Onana from Man City final, but Premier League is different. It's a marathon with lots of games and pressure, so I think it's a mistake, says Weekend Getaway. And I had a dream last night. We had a game of knockouts. Mark was there just going through players after the first round. Mark was doing an ad, but was dressed in Star Wars Dantooine costumes, says Joey. That wasn't a dream. It was actually true. It really happened. Love your content, Mark, says Show. Hi, Mark. Today's my birthday. Do you think by using financial fair play as a reason, actually negotiating tactic to avoid Man United tax and to get a reduced price, says Joey? No, I think Manchester United are using the financial fair play story as a reason to try and make you all think that we've got no money to spend because they don't want to spend any money. This one is interesting. This is the thing I was talking about at the start of the show that I wanted to dive into a little bit more. So Man United are prepared to sell Fred, who has attracted interest from Fulham since May. I don't like this. I don't like this deal, to be honest. I think that if it's a choice between, well, no, let's just be what we are meant to be, and what we are, which is a community here. So who would you sell? Let's just do this, because I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna say, but who would you sell? You have to sell one, Fred or McTominay. Who would you sell? I don't think we've done this summer, so let us know. Who would you sell if you had to sell one of those two players this summer? Now, the assumption would also be that one of them stays, because we're only going to sign Mason Mount in the midfield. So which way would you go? Man United are prepared to sell Fred because he's entering the final year of his contract. We know that, and there is interest to get Fred from certainly Fulham, maybe another couple of clubs. I personally think Saudi Arabia would be all over Fred as well, but I don't know whether he'd want to go there. So I think we'll cash in on Fred because there's actually interest in Fred. But the same article from the Manchester Evening News goes on to say McTominay has been linked with a number of moves this summer, but Man United have not planned for his sale, as he is their youngest senior midfield and would find it difficult to afford another to replace him. I mean, look, let's not pretend that that's just a journalist in the Manchester Evening News. But, I mean, how disappointing, how reflective and how symbolic is that of Manchester United, that basically, an outlet that will have good sources with United is saying that we're selling Fred because he's old and somebody wants to buy him, but we're keeping McTominay because he's young and we won't be able to buy a replacement. I mean, this is Manchester United Football Club. The amount of stories over the last 10 years that end up being true that would never happen at a proper competent football club is overwhelming. We almost drown in them every week. I mean, I tire, and I'm sure you do, I tire of seeing the evidence of how we are not a football club. And, there's plenty of reasons, and we can all write a book on why United can't win the league title. But there is a massive reason in itself, and it doesn't just apply to Scott McTominay. We're not going to sell McTominay, even though there's interest in him, because we haven't got the money to replace him and he's young. I mean, what does that even mean? So you're not going to sell a player that's not good enough, even when there's offers for him, because if you sell him, you can't buy a replacement, and also you want to keep him because he's young. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this in a less offensive way, but he's not good enough. He's just not good enough. I can't remember. It feels like he's been at the club for 30 years. I think it's about 5 or 6, and he's never really been good enough. He's scored the odd good goal, Arsenal, City, but he ain't good enough. He hasn't had a good game for United this calendar year. His last good game was about September, so he's not good enough. He should be playing for West Ham. I said last night, West Ham would be a really good deal for him. It's around his level. He is a Scottish international. He does put a lot of effort in. He's a model professional, and apparently he's a really nice guy. This is not personal. And you know what? The fact that some of these players take it personally shows you the mentality they've actually got. They're driven by what other people think about them. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Living your life like that is a joke, especially as a professional footballer. Why are you bothered about, I'm not going to say it's not fair, but, there are genuinely footballers at Man United who have issues with journalists and, probably myself, probably others, because they say they're not that good. You play for Manchester United. Grow up. Grow up. The only opinion that matters is the one that's looking back at you in the mirror. And that's not when you've got your girlfriend in for a shower. I'm talking about in the bathroom, or your boyfriend, I don't know. But, or them. But the reality is, in the mirror, in the bathroom, when you're on your own, the only opinion that matters is yours. What are you listening to everybody else for? You should know you're good enough or not good enough. And if you think you're good enough, that's a big problem. So,